Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Fabulites. I got a question for you. What opens with a family being torn apart and ends with the mama saying, my daughter's name is Hannah, my husband's name is Luke, my name is Joan, and I intend to survive? If you guessed The Handmaid's Tale, Season 1, Episode 1, then you're correct. I'm about to do a review and a recap of HULU's The Handmaid's Tale. So stick around if you'd like to hear more. Like, comment, subscribe. Did I say my name is Angela and the channel is Be Fabulous You? Well, if I didn't, now you know. All right, let's get into it. So, there's a speeding car. It's an empty road. There's a crash. Go with mommy, says the brown man to the brown child. The blonde woman, what about you? Him, run, run, run. I'll catch up later. The woman running with the child as best she can. The child is only about 6 years old. They're running as best they can through a woody area. We hear gunshots. There's a pause. She turns around. She looks. She's running again. She's hiding. The little girl, mommy. The mommy, be quiet. Quiet, baby. Quiet. We see sky. We see men with guns above. We see sky again. The woman is running. She's carrying the child. The men rip the child from the mother and the child as they fight to be together. We see the mommy on the stretcher carried into a vehicle and a glimpse of sky. Okay, listen. Okay, so that's the first scene, y'all. That's my dramatic reenactment. A dramatic reading of my notes. Then the second scene is we see, or whatever. It's some of these scenes there's quite a few flashbacks. I'm enjoying it. I really enjoy it having just read the book. I think that I can definitely see a lot of departures already from the book. I think all of the departures that I notice and that I can think about are for the good. They're really going to be to serve the purpose of telling a story as a television series as opposed to a story. I think that the visuals are really interesting. I think amazing, but they're very striking. Like there are so many striking images in this piece. So I think that the story that was told in the book with just a sketch of it, I like the ways in which they're filling things in because there's so much that she can't say in this world. And so I think that there are a lot of things actually that they literally say, but a lot of things that we get to see and understand that, the TV story works well for this story. And the ways in which they've kept to the story I enjoy, the ways in which they've departed from the story I enjoyed. I only watched episode 1, but I think I have a lot of notes. I thought I was gonna watch like 2 or 3 episodes, but it was like it's an hour-long show and it's a lot going on. And I just read the book, so I know more or less what's going on and where we're going with some of it. But some of it is just a total departure. Okay, so then the second scene, we see a woman in front of the window. It's the woman from the very first scene. It's our mommy. She's now Offred. Fred. I know I'm mispronouncing it, but she is of Fred. She has on this wine cone hat the next time we see her. And I was confused because I'm like, I didn't notice the cone before, but later on they do take the cones off. So probably the first time we see her, she doesn't have on the cone. But, most of the times that we see her, she's wearing this cone. Kind of like if your doggy gets sick and they go to the vet and the vet doesn't want your dog to lick their butt or bite their leg or whatever, they put that cone thing on them so they can only see so much. So it kind of really gives you that sense of constrained and constricted vision. She is in a red dress and she's in her room, or the room that she's been assigned as a handmaid. She's referencing suicide prevention aspects of the room, like the shatterproof glass. The book she talks about the missing chandelier. They say that she says that the escape of the handmaid is not the concern in terms of her leaving and running down the street. The escape that concerns them is her killing herself, because she won't get far if she runs. But I guess if she dead, they can't use her uterus to caddy babies. The fertility rate has gone down down, 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 down. So then we flash back to a meeting, to her first meeting with the Mrs. and Commander Waterford. That's her assignment as a handmaid. This is her second assignment, we find out. And the Mrs. says that her first handmaid was new and that it was like training a dog, a dumb dog. And we're just as offended as Offred. I was offended. Were you offended? I was offended. I'm like, well, gosh darn. And also that she is Mrs. until death do they part. And that if she gets trouble, she'll give trouble. And don't call her ma'am since you're a handmaid and not a Martha. So in this world, you may or may not know, and I guess it'll become clearer, I'm sure, as the story unfolds. But the Marthas are people like cooks and housekeepers. And she's a handmaid. Her job is to have babies. And the Mrs., her job is to be married. Okay, so back in her room, in the handmaid's room, the main handmaid, Offred, our main character, and this episode is called Offred. Somebody says her name in the episode. I'm like, oh, I gotta remember how to pronounce it, but in my head, it's just Offred. So, oh, her hair is so pretty. She has this dark brown skin, and her hair is so white. You know, I got all this white in my hair, but it's not totally white. Okay, but she's back, and Miss Offred is back in her room. And then we see her walking down the stairs. She sees Rita, who's the Martha, in the kitchen. And Miss Rita is making bread from scratch. Our narrator says they like the return to traditional values. And Rita is a bit annoyed. She seems to stay annoyed. I don't know if she's just annoyed in general or if she's specifically annoyed at Offred, or, you know, just she might just have an abrupt personality that seems annoyed. I don't know. But she's like, hold your horses. You know, you're always showing up when I'm in the middle of something. But she always got plenty to do. So Miss Rita is probably always in the middle of something. Don't be mad at my girl. She didn't set up the system. She part of the system just like you are, Miss Rita. And the handmaid is observing the commander and the missus talking through a partially open door. She gets shopping coupons from Rita, and then she has a short chat with Nick, who's the commander's driver, but he also seems to be like a gardener and kind of doing things around the house type person. And she says that he's a low status. He's low status. He hasn't even been assigned a woman. And she wonders if he's an I. And she's on the way to another waiting handmaid. And this woman is off Glen. And an I is like a spy. I guess that's probably pretty obvious. It's not, the language is not really that deep or hard to figure out. Okay, so then we're going into, they go in twos. They go everywhere in twos, the handmaids do. They are like each other's spies. Offred sees some girls, like little girls in pink. 8 years old, 5 years old, kind of that age range. And she's like looking at the faces, looking at the girls. And she flashes back to beaching with her daughter, like being at the beach with her daughter. And then we're in the grocery store. Where am I at? Then we're in the grocery store, and everything is graphic. I really like visually, I said this already, but I really like visually what they did. Let me see if I can find it. Lord. The grocery is all graphics, no words. We meet two more handmaids. One is brown. So that's kind of interesting. They're really, really excited about the oranges. At least 3 of the 4 of them are excited. Our main character, hint, hint, she's the one who's not really very excited. So they walk back by her, the two, Offred and Off Glen, the two main couple, the two who are assigned to each other, decide to walk back by the river, and there are 3 men hanging dead on the wall, and they can tell, she tells us in her, narrator head or whatever, as she's speaking to us, that one was a priest, one was a doctor, and one was gay, and it was gay. And as she says that, we see the symbols, like a pink triangle, you know, whatever. We see different symbols that represent these things. And the things are graphic in the grocery store because women are not allowed to read in this time and in this space. And so it's just pictures. It's kind of like when you go to, if you work, I don't know, I've never done it, but I heard that if you work like in McDonald's, is it still the case? Then instead of fries, you know, that it just says it's a picture of French fries and you just hit that button. That's what this world is like, you know, like there's just pictures of things, you know, so that to prevent the women from reading or learning to read or, you know, whatever, or practicing reading, because it's a transitional time. So she knows how to read, but they don't want to foster that. And I do know for myself that, you know, when I stopped reading on a regular basis, it was like my mind contracted and my ability to articulate and think and my relationship with words really changed. Okay, so, and she says, you know, there's 3 dead men hanging on the wall, a priest, a doctor, and a gay. And she says, you know, I think there was a joke about that, but I don't remember the joke. So I didn't really do a good job just now of capturing the humor, but I think that the TV show is doing a better job of capturing humor. Might be a strong word, but there's kind of like a wry, dry humor that the narrator's voice has in the TV show that I didn't necessarily notice in the book, but I appreciated in the TV show. Okay, so then we flash back to our main character arriving at the Handmaid school, which I think is called the Red Center, and it might have an official name, but there are about 30 other women in the room. She recognizes her college friend from back before. It's a black woman, and she may not be the woman from from The Walking Dead. She may be the woman from Orange is the New Black. You know, it's kind of like I kind of sort of recognize her face, but I can't quite tell you from where. The person is speaking, the auntie, the older women who are running, who are the main teachers or whatever, and they're like, they were sluts. You are special girls. You will serve to bear children for leaders of the faithful and their barren wives. You are so lucky. And one of the new women there, and we can tell the new women because they come in street clothes. When Offred was brought in at that time, she had on like ripped jeans. She looked like somebody walking down the street now. But the young women who are already in the center have on their uniforms. But the new people don't. So one of the new people, when they're like, you know, when the auntie is like, you are so lucky, the new person makes some smart ass comment. Her name is Janine. She's Janine from the book, but later on we find out that that's Janine. And they tase her. And in the book they talked about cattle prods. But when I saw her in the thing, I'm like, I think that's a taser. Is a taser and a cattle prod the same thing? I guess so, an electric shock. And the aunt goes on and she says, you know, basically it seems strange now, but it'll become ordinary. And that's one of the quotes that I had actually pulled out. I had tweeted one of the quotes I had pulled out of the book when I was reading it. It's a little more extensive than that, but that's all I wrote down. Like, y'all gonna get used to this. This seems weird now, but yay for you. It's so exciting. And then we're at nighttime in the Red Center, and our main character is telling her black friend about how heavy her daughter was when she tried to run with her. And her friend is like, you know, keep your head down. And her friend's name is Moira. Myra. It's spelled Moira in the book, so I wasn't quite sure how to pronounce it. But I think they just pronounce it Myra. Myra? I don't know. But we're going to call her Myra because that's easy for me to remember. So her friend is like, you know, Myra is like, keep your head down. We'll get her. And then Offred is like, Odette, like, what happened to Odette? And Myra is like, they rounded her up in one of the dike purges. They classified her as a non-woman or an unwoman, and they sent her to one of the colonies. I can't remember what language they use, non or un, but anyway, she ain't a woman. She at the colonies. The colonies are where people clean up toxic waste, and they basically end up, you know, dying and disintegrating from exposure to, you know, these extreme conditions. And then we see the beaten, bandaged, crying smartass. That's Janine from earlier. She's being brought into the dormitory. That's where they're sleeping. It's like a big room with a bunch of cots. All of the people are there. This kind of like, well, what happened to her? And Myra is like, if your right eye offends you, pluck it out. We're breeding stock. We don't need eyes for that. So they done plucked this woman's eye out because she was a smart ass. And they like, oh no, we not going to have that. We about to make an example of you right here and right now. So they're getting ready for the ceremony. Or I think that the woman goes shopping again, and she's like, well, I have to go home early. Offred, she's getting ready for the ceremony, and she says a bath is required before the ceremony. When she gets in the tub, we can see the red tag on her ear as she's resting in the tub. I don't remember mentioning the red tag in the book, but I do remember in the book that she had to be bathed by the Marthas, that one of the Marthas had to supervise her, I guess, because, they were afraid that handmaids would drown themselves or something. I don't know. But she's taking a bath unsupervised. So I was like, oh, she gets to take an unsupervised bath. And then we see a flashback of her, of Offred with her daughter and Luke at the aquarium. And she's wondering, our main character, does she remember me? Does my daughter remember me? Please, God, let her remember me. And then we hear bells. She goes upstairs, but maybe she went downstairs. But it seemed like she was going upstairs. And then we see her kneeling, and she's asking, what did I do to deserve this? And then there's a flashback to her in the training center. And the woman with the bandaged eye, who I know is Janine now, is at the center of a circle of handmaids, and she's describing a gang rape to, the people. The boys kept coming downstairs. She knew them, blah, 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 blah. And the older women, the aunts, lead the maids and pointing at her and blaming her for her rape and leading them on. Whose fault is it? It's your fault. It's your fault. It's your fault. So it's like it's awful. Then we see Offred back. She's kneeling. She's gone upstairs or downstairs for the ceremony. She's joined by Rita, and then they're joined by Nick. Then the missus comes in. She's lighting a cigarette as soon as she sits down, and they wait as usual for the commander. He knocks and enters. He unlocks a Bible in a box, and he reads. And then we hear him reading as we watch a ritualized threesome. And Offred stares into space. The missus is behind her and holding her, and the commander she's like at the edge of the bed, and the commander is having sex with her. We see him from behind. Everybody is basically fully clothed. It's like, very unsexy. I think they did a good job of making this threesome look very, very unsexy. The missus dismisses the handmaid, and she has a hard, teary face. And the handmaid is kind of like, they told me I'm supposed to stay here for 10 minutes. It means that I get pregnant quicker. And the woman is like, just leave, get out of here. Everybody is in distress. It's like the quicker she can get pregnant, I guess, she wants to get pregnant. I know from reading the book, she wants to get pregnant because if she can't get pregnant and provide, then her fate once she is infertile is going to be worse than if she's able to provide a child. The missus, the quicker this child can get pregnant and get out of her house, she could have a baby and she don't have to worry about having no other woman in her house. But I guess it's just so distressing, the whole situation. Even the missus is distressed by it. It's like they done set up a system, and I don't know who's happy in it or who likes it, or maybe everybody is just doing, what they think they have to do for their duty in terms of like the missus and the commander, because they don't look happy or like they enjoying the situation either. Okay, so then she goes outside at night. Offred is going outside. She's outside. She's in her nightgown. Her hair is down. We can see it uncovered. She's gasping. I don't know if she's sick, or I don't know if she's upset about the ceremony. I don't know if she's upset because she didn't have the greatest chances to conceive. I don't know if she's just upset about her life, stress, missing her daughter, missing her husband, just like woo-wee. It's just. And then we see Nick watching from his porch over the garage, and she notices him. And then we see a flashback to the center, and Janine, the smart ass, is having a breakdown. And she's like a waitress in her head, like, in the book they were, how may I help you? Is your food okay? Can I get you something else? And Myra slaps her and tries to talk her down, like, girl, you ain't in no restaurant. You here at the center, get it together. Don't let them see you like this. They gonna send you, they're going to send you off to the colonies. And Offred and Myra get Janine back into her bed. And Myra is like, if I'm not here the next time, you slap her hard. It's contagious. keep your fucking shit together. It's just like awful, it's like it's so much stress and awfulness in this world. But unlike the book, I immediately in this episode, I feel like some sense of hope or some sense of possibility, or like some maneuvering room. In the book, it just felt very, very oppressive and depressing. So she's watching Nick. This is probably the next day, and she's saying that he hasn't reported her for being outside last night yet. We hear 3 bells. That lets her know that it's salvaging today. So Rita, again, is hostile because now she has to do her own work and she has to do the handmade shopping. And, Nick is like, comes in, could you get some more of them oranges? And, do y'all have any special requests? And the handmaid says something about tuna. Now, when she was going to the grocery store the day before, he had said something about don't go to this place because the chicken is poison. Don't get tuna because I don't like tuna or something. And it was kind of like a food consciousness that I was like, I'm a vegetarian. You might not know it, but I was like, ooh, they're talking about food in a conscious way, or Nick is. But she makes some reference to tuna, but that kind of went over my head. And then we have an aerial shot. Let me talk quicker because I still got a couple more sections. We have an aerial shot of the handmaids and the setup for the handmaids. The handmaids are entering the salvaging in their red dresses. There's these strips of red with red cushions that they're going to kneel in. They're kind of chatting as they come in because that's an opportunity for them to chat. Somebody asks, have you heard from Myra? And she says no. And then Janine turns around from 3 or 4 rows up and she's like, oh, she's dead. And a man gets on stage. He's like, okay, quiet. And Janine looks like she's 6-9 months pregnant. Like she looked really, really pregnant. And then she turns back around and she says, Myra got caught running and she was sent to the colony. So she's dead by now. So we know that Janine is still, crazy, in the situation is a crazy making type situation. So Offred is disturbed to hear that. The woman, Aunt Lydia, who's running the ceremony, is like, get to your places. All of the women kneel on the red cushions. The young women, the handmaids, kneel on the red cushions with the rows of red runners. The aunt tells them, this man is convicted of rape. The death is the penalty. He raped a pregnant handmaid and the baby died. And they form a circle around the man and they take off their cones and they've left them on their cushions. And the woman tells them, the auntie says, do what you want from him, from one whistle blow to the next whistle blow. And they're like all beating him and attacking him, except for Janine. She's standing back and she's kind of smiling and twirling. And then we have another flashback of Offred and Myra meeting up. Offred is trying to reach Luke. So this is before she got caught up in the system. And she's just found out that she's pregnant, but she's worried about miscarriage and she's worried about the baby being born deformed, which is so common now. And Myra is like, I'll be here no matter what, as always. So it's like establishing the fact that they have a long-standing friendship and that, it's an intense relationship. And then Offglen, that's her handmaid buddy, they go in twos. She says, I'm sorry about your friend, Myra. You knew her from the Red Center? And Offred says, and before. And these two women kind of bond, and each thought that the other was a true believer. And Offred's daughter, she tells Offglen would be 8. Offglen says that she had a wife and a son, and that her son would be almost 5. She said that they had Canadian passports, but not her, so she got caught at the border. And she says, it's nice to finally meet you. See, they've been meeting up shopping, but they've just been saying, blessings to you. May your fruit be wombful. May your womb be fruitful. They've just been given these ritualized responses because they didn't know whether they could trust each other or be real with each other. And they're afraid of getting sent to the colonies. So they say, nice to meet you. And then right when she gets to the gate, Offglen says, there's an eye in your house. Be careful. And then, it's kind of like, who's the eye? We see her going through her house. Our main character, whose name is Joan. I just knew. In the book, they don't say her name. So I've been calling her Offred. But anyway, she comes into the house and she's looking at everybody. And it's like 10 or 15 folks, including Rita. Now, in the book, it was 2 Marthas that worked there, 2 domestic helpers that work there, plus Nick, and that was it. And we've only seen Rita so far as a regular. I don't know if they're having a special event or whatever, but it's about 10 to 15 folks there, including Rita. So I don't know if it's a special occasion. She's, you know, someone is watching here. You know, she says always, there's always someone watching, but I intend to survive for her. Her name is Hannah. My husband's name was Luke. My name is Joan. And that's the end of the episode. Okay, so I'm looking forward. But last night I was thinking about The Handmaid's Tale. I guess I woke up in the middle of the night. So I don't know. I might have to give myself a little break because I just got finished reading the book. And now I'm watching it. So I don't want to get too immersed in this world of Gilead. But thank you so much for watching, fabulous one. Share the video if you enjoy it. Like, comment, subscribe, and all of that other stuff. And be you. Be fabulous. Be fabulous you. Mwah.